Back to the Culture Call on Praise 93.3 with L. Spencer Smith. Our desire is to reach and empower the community by discussing a cross-section of relevant topics from various perspectives that are essential to its growth and interpersonal connections. Be sure to save our call-in number, 205-752-4800. Be sure to install the free Praise 93.3 app so you can send L. Spencer Smith a message or topic idea. Search for WTSK in your app store.
This is a world premiere.
Great morning, great morning, great morning, precious people. You know what time it is. That's right. It's time for your favorite. Yes, that's right. Favorite talk show, The Culture Call, with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on Praise 93.3 FM. It is indeed the place where Tuscaloosa meets the world. Absolutely. And you know what we do from the hours of 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We talk about 12 p.m. We talk a little bit about everything. Do you believe it? That's right. A little bit about everything. And we're excited to talk about it today because it is necessary to expose you to everything that is going on the Culture Call. It is my prayer today that you are doing well. And so because of that, it's my prayer that as we move forward throughout the day, we're going to have a lot of great conversation from sports to society to sports, education, economics, from religion to relationships. And as always, we are here to create a safe space to have empowering, provocative, and yes, sometimes controversial conversations. And guess what? You can call in and chat it up with us right here as we learn together on the Culture Call. Listen, I want to send a shout out, first of all, to all of our first-time listeners. That's right, our first-time listeners. I want to send a big shout out to you. I don't know how you heard about the Culture Call, but guess what? Welcome to the CC family. We are grateful to have you on, whether you're driving through the city, maybe you're sitting at your cubicle, at your desk, or maybe you're sitting by a pool. I don't know what you're doing, cooking breakfast. I am just glad and grateful that you are here with us on this morning. And guess what? Buckle up. We're going to have a great time, and we're glad that you've joined us for the journey. Number two, always want to send a big shout out to those of you who are our recurring faithful listeners. Listen to us every day. I am super excited about that. Listen, we could not be and do all that we do without you. So you are a valuable part of the Culture Call. And of course, last but not least, we give a big shout out to the inimitable, anointed, Brother Jay, who leads us here every morning. That's right, every morning from 5 a.m. all the way to the 10 a.m. hour. And guess what he does? He passes me this hot baton, and I'm telling you, it says, go ahead, son, run on to see what the end's going to be. And guess what? I'm taking these little legs, and I'm doing the best I can with what I got. I'm going to run on to see what the end is going to be. And so definitely we appreciate his guidance, his mentorship, and all of that. And I'm super excited to be a part of the Praise 93.3 team, and I'm under his leadership. Listen. If you've not done it already, and I know you have, but just in case if you have not, go ahead to your smart device and to your app store on your Apple or your Android device. Now, why am I doing that? Because I need you to do something for me, right? Go to the App Store and search out Praise 93.3 FM. And there you're going to find a free 99 app. That's right. You're going to find that app and you can download it on your phone. Doesn't cost you a thing. But what that will help you do is listen to us from all around the world, all right? Definitely in the United States. Doesn't matter where you are. You can catch the amazing programming, not just the Culture Call, but all of the programming that goes on here at Praise 93.3 throughout the day. And it sends you updates of weather. It sends you updates of important events. You just don't want to miss it. So go ahead and download that. So no matter if you're in Chicago, Illinois, Detroit, Michigan, maybe you might be in Baltimore, Maryland, or right here in the beautiful city of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Montgomery, Birmingham, Mobile, Huntsville, Bola G, Gordo, Utah. All of those. Reform. You can hear us if you download that app. Don't worry about the frequency. You got that app. You can listen to us wherever you are, and we will be glad and grateful that you did. Listen, I need all of you all, especially you church secretaries out there, those of you who are administrators, go ahead and email me your public service announcement at culturecall.praise@gmail.com. That's culturecall.praise@gmail.com, and give me an opportunity to let Lottie Dottie and everybody know the wonderful things that's going on in your neck of the woods, in your church, your organization, your sorority, your fraternity. Maybe you're an artist getting ready to do a live recording or have a concert, or maybe you're a preacher getting ready to start a church or run a revival. Does not matter. We want to let everybody know the important things that you do so that we can put faces in the place, so there'll be no space and no empty seats. Because you know how when you have a program and there's a bunch of empty seats, how discouraging that can be. Yeah, well, we don't want that. Why? Because we do it better when we do it together. So it will be my privilege and pleasure for me to announce it while we are on the air. And of course, you can always write down the golden number 205-752-4800. That's 205-752-4800. And you can call into the show and be a part of the conversation. Definitely, you can hit me up on the app. Yeah, you can definitely do that. And we can chat once you do that. It's a chat feature on the app. You can utilize that and let me know what you're thinking, what it's all about. I love to hear, love to hear from you. Well, Bishop, guess what? I missed the show that you did, and folks were telling me about it. Have no fear, worry thou not. All you have to do is go to Apple Podcasts, and they have cataloged all of our previous shows, most of them anyway, of our previous shows that we've done with throughout the year. And so if you've missed one this week, hey, guess what? You can go back and listen to it. It's right there. I'm telling you, it will be a tremendous blessing to your life. You won't be, sometimes you're not able to listen to the entire broadcast for the whole 2 hours. I totally understand. But we made it portable for you. We made it giving you the ability to, on your leisure time, go ahead and scroll back and make sure that you listen to the broadcast. Also, you can follow us on our Facebook page, and that's The Culture Call. That's right. All you got to do is like our page. There you can send us messages. You can send us announcements, etc. I think that's very, very important that you do that. And, because we put a lot of things on the page, a lot of people follow us. It's still growing. And admittedly, we don't work the page as much as we would like to work the page. But guess what? We have one. And so you can follow us and find out critical information there. Okay, good deal. Listen, do me a favor. Sit back and relax. Grab you some coffee. You know how we do it, Maxwell House or Starbucks. And maybe you say, Bishop, I don't like coffee. I understand. Some folks can't start the morning without their, super black coffee. I get it. But maybe you don't like coffee, but tea is your thing. Go ahead and get you some herbal tea, chamomile if you're trying to calm down, and a little green tea if you need a little caffeine kick. It's not coffee, but it has a little caffeine kick, and it starts spurring you, and it's much probably more healthy than coffee anyway, right? Absolutely. Won't endanger your blood pressure or anything. Or if you don't like either coffee or tea, go ahead and get you some spring water or some alkaline water, and that's the water in the red and black, with the red and black label. Essentia is my favorite. Go ahead and get hydrated. It is important, y'all, to get hydrated because it has been hot, and it's hot early this year. It is really hot here in Alabama. I'm telling you, it's crazy. Yeah, I know it. But go ahead and stay hydrated, and do me a favor. Let's get into the culture. We are, ladies and gentlemen, we are winding down the month of June, which we deem to be Men's Health Month, Men's Mental Health Month. Also, it is a Black Music Month as well. There's so much going on in June. And June has been a very busy month, a very active month in terms of all of the convergences of days and ideas and thematics. Juneteenth has been this month. All of those things have been going on. And it is my prayer that you are making sure that you're staying current with all of the events that are happening in the news, that's happening in our city, that's happening in our state. Yeah, because all of that, especially this year, it's an election year. And I think it is very important that we pay attention. Pay attention to what is going on. One of the greatest warnings in the Bible is not about hell, but it's about you being picked off by the adversary. In Peter, it says that we need to be sober and vigilant because your adversary, the devil, is going about as a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. And that part of seeking whom he may devour, it doesn't mean that he's just going to attack you, because if you ever pay attention, lions don't attack and prey do not attack when you're in a group. They wait for you to stray behind. They wait for you to lag behind, and when you leave the strong ones or the progressive ones, it finds the ones that are lame or just taking their slow time, and that's when they pick them off, right? Because what it's doing is trying to stop the herd from progressing, right? Because herd mentality is let's turn around and help the one that is weak, right? And so that is the text, of course. Though we who are strong ought bear the infirmities of the weak. But you all have to make sure that if I'm not up where I need to be, if I'm not strong in an area, if I'm ignorant about some things, or I don't have the understanding about some things, guess what we can do? What we can do is make sure that you stay with us as we progress, right? And sometimes people say, hey, Bishop, you talk about so much stuff, and sometimes your vocabulary and your language is, I got to get a dictionary or a thesaurus, and I get it. It's just something in me. I'm too old to change, and I don't think I would want to change because it's a part of who God has made me to be. And so if you take that, I try to break down words every now and then when I can. I get it when I'm singing. I get it when I'm preaching. I get it when I'm just talking. But I get it, But we're going to do our best to make sure that we stay together so that none of us in our community is late, last, or lost, right? And so even as we wind down this amazing month of June, we have a couple more days. I believe this is the last week of June, ending on Sunday. I want to make sure that we get all of the nourishment out of all of the months, or all of the thematic, rather, of the month of June as we possibly can. Having said that, I want to talk about men and mentorship. Bishop, you talked a whole lot about men this month. Absolutely, because I really, really believe, even though the culture and the society is shaped around men, it's patriarchal. It is the society, men in leadership. I get it, misogyny and chauvinism. I try to be a champion against those things, because when we look at the scripture, it is important for us to understand that God did never put male man and female man in competition. As a matter of fact, God uses them in singularly in one sentence, talking about the divine spirit in Genesis chapter number 1. I believe it's in verse 26 when he says, and God said, let us make man, the spirit of man, in our image and our likeness. And in the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them. So the language there says that God never created competition. Competition between male and female, men and women, is a result of the fall, right? Is a result of, after creation, left again the order of God. Right? I think that is very important, because sometimes we can be fighting the results of the fall instead of living and manifesting the results of God's order or God's original blessing and original intent, right? And so that's a whole lot of what we see in society today and in the culture today, that it creates opposition and obstacles whereby we don't understand each other, because we think it's about domination. It's about who's over who. It's about, who's in charge or who is in control. And a lot of times we get out of order when we do that. Not get out of order, but continue to manifest that we are out of order, because we are yet fighting and yet struggling with the residuals of the fall located in Genesis chapter 3 as a result of the serpent's or Satan's deception. And a lot of times I tell people, but there are two chapters that exist before Genesis 3, and that's Genesis 1 and 2. And if you ever want to understand God's heart and mind concerning man and creation, You don't read Genesis 3, you read Genesis 1 and 2. And of course, you can read 3 because it is there in Genesis 3 that God begins to unveil his redemptive promise between the woman and the serpent, right? And so if you look at that, you will begin to understand that. Number 2, the Bible also, and not to have a biblical studies conversation, but I think this is important, Culture Call, that the Bible is a record of the history of God's chosen people. It is not the history of the world. It is not the history of every society and civilization as it occurs in time. But most specifically, it is the history and the tracing of via patriarchy, via patriarchs, not patriarchy, but patriarchs, and the pedigree to get us to the salvific purpose of what he's prophesied in Genesis chapter number 3. You know, the seed of the woman is going to begin to have warfare against the seed of the serpent, and this the woman's the seed is going to crush the head of the serpent, and the serpent's head is going to bruise the heel of the seed of the woman, right? And so from Genesis all the way up until the Gospels, we get an eye view of all of the lineage that gets us to God's salvific purpose and his the understanding of that text in from Genesis 3 all the way up till we get to Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then even in the Gospels, each of them unveil a different aspect of the salvific purpose, right? Each 4 of them are speaking to different audiences. And so Matthew speaks to a Jewish audience. Mark speaks to more of the ministry of Jesus, and Mark being the oldest book, Matthew borrowed from Mark, although chronologically, if we're looking in the scripture, it is Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. But if we were looking in history, according to how it was really written, it should be Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. Luke gives us a more gentilic, or more global view, right? Because you understand that Luke partnered with Paul to write the book of Acts, and we see the globalization there of Christianity and the move of God. And then, of course, John gives us a more spiritual or a divine aspect, as in chapter number 1. In the beginning was the Word, was God, was God. The Word was God, with God, right? It is important. I think all of that it gives you an outlier of God's mind. Now, I say all of that because part of what we're going to be talking about, which is men and mentorship, is important, because what you see in scripture and even what you see in culture, in society, is this desperate need for men to be cultivated and to be led, right? For them, for the giftedness and the richness, there has to be a fatherhood there. There has to be a coach there. There has to be a cultivator there, right? And a lot of times we don't have that, especially in a black community, that especially in modern times, we don't see mentorship. We're beginning to have conversations about mentorship now and the necessity of that with regards to black men, black boys, and even black girls, black women. There's a need for our futures to be coached and to be to have collaborations, collective collaborations that help us understand the fullness of who we are, right? And left alone, men and women, but men particularly, will be left to their own devices to self-discover. And that is not necessarily how God has designed it, a self-discovery. When you read the text, you will always see that anyone who is a leader, anyone who will do great things for God, God will partner them with a sage voice, with a wise voice, with wisdom, right? To make sure that they don't go astray. So when you read the text, you will find out that mentorship and fatherhood and partnership and coaching are essential for us to figure out who we are in this world, right? It's important. It is important. Even when you comes to the life of Christ, right? That's important that Joseph is there. It's important. Even though God did not use Joseph naturally, that God, he himself via the Spirit impregnated Mary, and Mary had bore Jesus. When it came time for Jesus's physical life, his natural life in the earth, that God partnered and put him with Joseph, because Joseph is significant, right? Because what we recognize is that Jesus in his earthly state did not grow up without fatherhood and mentorship in the home, right? That is important, right? Even though we don't speak so much of Joseph, we don't speak so much of his participation in the salvific work, but you do have to recognize that Joseph's presence of fatherhood and mentorship was important and covering to navigate Jesus even in his natural life. And then when he got ready to go into ministry, from Joseph, we see John the Baptist come. And Jesus, it was necessary, Jesus says, to fulfill righteousness, that John the Baptist baptized him, even though John the Baptist was Jesus's cousin. What was God saying there in intent? That those who have great potential and great destiny, those who have great efficacy in the earth, those who have great grace on their life must need be partnered with mentorship, must need be partnered with a level of fathership and sponsorship in the world, so that they can help navigate and facilitate levels of productivity. And I want to say today that there will be no successful man if they have no level of mentorship, partnership, fatherhood, etc. No man simply self-discovers. This is why football teams have coaches. This is why schools have principals. This is why, again, most importantly, fathers must be in the home, because men, especially boys, must have mentorship, must have sponsorship to help them navigate through the nuances of life. And I am grateful to see in our community that there are a plethora of men and organizations that are taking the stance that we are not leaving a generation fatherless. We are not leaving a generation mentorless. That we are reversing the effects, or better yet, organizing and giving structure to the effects of men in our lives, coaches and principals and fathers and sponsors, mentors in our lives. And we're creating programming so that this next generation can find help, right? Even the young guys who are out in the street, they're yet they join gangs. Why? Because of the human need, especially the male human need for mentorship, for leadership, for fathership, for paternity. It's important, right? And even though they gravitate to a negative element, that negative element there is still fulfilling some kind of existential need within that young man, right? I'm looking up to this OG, is what they call him in the street. I'm looking up to this person who is, well respected in this area, and I may not want to be doing these acts, but I need the validation, watch this, and the affirmation of a mentor, the validation and the affirmation of a sponsor, the validation and the affirmation of a coach. That's why we see young boys want to play sports really early, because they need to hear from a man. They love mama's voice. Oh, that's my baby. Oh, that's my XYZ. But they also crave and desire, the male voice in their life to say, hey, this is what you do. This is what you don't do, XYZ. They, in light of those young men that may not have fathers in the home. And so I need us, Culture Call, to see the importance of men and mentorship. I always, especially if they're single women, I tell single women in our church who have male sons, who have boys, right, that if you don't have a quote unquote male or in your life or love interest, you do have a father, or you have uncles, you have brothers, you've got men in the community, men in the church. Yeah, allow your sons to be with those men. Allow those sons to be with men of character and integrity, right? Men who have agency, men who have, who know how to mold them with their example and their presence and their voices. It's important for young men to have that. And, that's why a couple of weeks ago I was saying that even if you're a single woman and it's not didn't work out with you and the guy that you had the baby with, you should mandate not a check, not a paycheck, but a presence. Yes, I need his presence. Judge, I can work and I can pay for the stuff I need, right? But I need his presence in this boy's life, right? Because I am a woman, a single woman, and I don't know how it is to be a man. And see, here it is. Presence and that kind of mandate puts pressure on the absenteeism or the instances of those who are not present, they are there available. It puts pressure on them to show up. No, I don't need you for a check. I can buy little Billy's shoes. I don't need you for a check. I can buy little Billy's food. But what I cannot be to little Billy is a father, is a mentor, is a coach. And I need you the same way that you partnered with her bringing little Billy into the earth is the same way that men, we must partner with these women to rear the children that God has fortunately given us, right? Because that little boy is your tabula rasa. It's your clean slate. It's your chance to start over again and not make the same mistakes that you made. So you're looking at that little boy and you're trying to avoid him, sir. But no, that is your opportunity now to mature and become a teacher, to mature, to become a father, to mature, to become a coach, to become a sponsor, right? I call my son Face. Right, my oldest son, I call him Face because he looks like me. But he looked like me when his my wife bore him. When his mama bore him, he looked just like me. And the older he got, the more he started looking like me. My baby pictures, all of that, I could not deny him. But when I held him in my arms, something was released into me that I knew that I was responsible. Not just to my daughter, but to my son and even to my baby son. I am responsible to live a life that they can look at, that they will learn how to mirror. Right? They may not do everything that I do. I'm not saying that they will become a pastor, that they will become a bishop, or that they will become an artist. I'm not talking about what I do. I'm talking about who I be. And most importantly, mentorship is necessary, Culture Call, because it teaches our children in some way and form and who to be, who to become, right? And that's important. Now, what they do in life is up to God. And we are to partner with God and the text, train up a child in the way that they should go, that when they get older, they will not depart from it. Yeah, it is important that we have that realm of understanding with regards to each other. But my job is to make sure that I give them a visible, credible, integrous example of being, right? It is the manifestation of who God has placed in the earth. We live in Christ, we move in Christ, and we have what? Our being. And so my presence is there to show them being as a man. Yeah, my sons know how to be as men, right? That's important, right? And so it's not that somebody said, well, why do you champion for men? It's not that I champion for men in as much as that I am compelling them to take their spaces in places in the future development of their seed. Absolutely. I don't allow people to dog men out and all those. I don't get up and talk about raggy men. No, because I have to believe, as my position in the earth, as a pastor, as an advocate, as an activist, I've got to believe in the potential of God doing something in each and every individual. So even if he's not doing what he's doing now, I'm going to speak the truth in love and activate it. I'm going to rattle his cage until he gets back into the place that God wants him to be. I am going to be a mentor to men, just like the mentors that I have. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. And I'm telling you, buckle up. It's going to be quite a conversation. Keep it right here and don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. And we are having an amazing day talking about men and mentorship and the importance of that mentorship and coaching and sponsorship in our community to raise up and to help strengthen the next generation. What I'm finding out is a lot of the anger and resistance with our young people and our teens especially is because they don't know, hear me now, they don't know what parenting, they don't know what sponsorship, they don't know, what that looks like. They are children. And, and we can try to figure out many different ways to answer those questions, because I don't believe that there is just one unilateral way to figure it out. Each child comes different. And so we've got to kind of navigate the nuances of that difference with regards to each child. But one of the things that I really, really believe, and even in my time as an educator, teaching in middle school, mentoring young men, talking to them, having conversation, even now, that when I like to mess with my young boys and, they wear these crazy haircuts or even don't even get a haircut. Let me put that. They got, I don't know what that is. We would never want to walk around in our day like that. But, it's their style now. I challenge them, get a haircut, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, oh, okay, Bishop, all right, I get it. I'm going to get a haircut. But you know what? I want them to walk away with a sense of, number one, that they are seen. They are seen, right? And, we have softened up society so much that, we think we know what the children are thinking, or the young guys especially are thinking. But, yeah, they're like, I want them to know that my bishop cares about me, my pastor cares about me. I want to provide a father figure for them because it's so very important. We've got a couple of brilliant young men that's getting ready to go off to college, Jackson State and Alabama A&M respectively, and they are brilliant young men. So, every time I see them, I want to make my presence known. I want to make sure that, their relationship with their fathers is strong, their relationship with their pastor is strong, that their faith is strong. And then with the remaining young men that are going on, and young women, but young men going on, I want them to know that that pastor, a lot of times I grew up fearing my pastor. I don't want to talk to him. And of course, I don't remember them being as relational as we are required to be. Now, I do remember them going around visiting somebody when they're sick. I do remember them doing funerals, and I do remember them doing weddings, but being personable after church and, laughing, I don't remember any of that. We just kind of revered the pastor, and it may not even be reverence. It just might have been that we created an idolization, an unhealthy idolization that kept us away, And I understand that there needs to be some level of quasi that, because I don't like the term idol as it relates to spiritual leadership, because that can create, all kinds of mentalities and mindsets. And so I do understand the level of honor and revere that needs to go there. However, I believe that Jesus was also a personable leader, that he was a personable mentor, that he had proximity with people, right? And, we create certain cultures within our community that are, that work against the whole mentorship facility, right? Jesus said, I want the little children to come to me. Suffer the little children to come unto me and forbid them not, because that's a part of the kingdom. That's how the kingdom operates. And so I make myself available to those young men and to our young people, because that's what they need. I want them to know that here's my Facebook page, here's my Instagram, here's my, my text, my number if you need to talk to me, but don't they have, yes, I have an amazing youth ministry, but me as a man in leadership knows the importance of me having some level of touch and some level of connectivity to that generation. And to let them know, hey, when they get in trouble, hey, these are the situations. Don't give up. This is XYZ, ABC. You still got to believe, you're going to get out your parents' house, but so you got to develop your faith, and you got to develop what you want out of life and what you believe God is saying to you. You got to have all of that by yourself. You got to learn how to have and discover your own agency, your own worth, and your own value, so that when you get in various environments, you know who you be, right? You understand your being, right? Because we talked about that there is a difference between being and doing. And most people want a mentor and a coach to talk about their doing. How can I do something better? So you want their gift, their craft, and their skill. But when you really get to the root of what true mentorship is how are you living, and how are you developing me to be an individual, to be a human, to be a man, to be courteous, to be conscientious, to be conscious, right? To function at a high degree of consciousness, right? Those things are important, that you care about my faith, you care about my purpose, you care about me developing discernment and insight. That's how we help. That's what it means. The true mentorship. To mentor helps you. It helps you to become a person, become human, right? Not just in the breathing and the inhaling and exhaling. Not just helps you with mental sight and spiritual sight. Develops those things, the core texture of how you will operate in earth, in the world, in an organization, in a relationship, right? This is what our generation is craving, right? And so sometimes I've got to step out of my quote unquote lofty pulpit, and go to them and touch them and hug them and embrace them and mess with them and so that they can see, if I ever needed to talk to him, if I ever needed to talk, he's more than just my pastor that I see up there on a Sunday morning, but he is a man that can help me navigate through life. Doesn't take the place of any father or mother, but I want them to know that they have access to my wisdom, access to my insight, access to whatever resource I can be to them. If I can help them, I want them to know it. That's what it means to be a mentor, to challenge the areas of their darkness and to help them see the light in the areas, in their blind spots, and tell them, okay, watch out for this, watch out for that. I love to see them develop, right? And you will never be a mentor if you're not excited to see your mentees develop, to see them get better, to be the springboard and the launching pad for them to go to the next level and season of their lives, to confront and help them navigate their fears, right? And not just navigate their fears, but through their fears, develop a faith not just for God to do, but a faith in God to be, that he that comes to him must believe that he is, not that he can do, but that he is, right? And that he is a rewarder of him that diligently seek him, right? So God's being comes before God's doing, right? And I know that in faith, we always celebrate what God can do. But the truth of the matter is I've got to be rest assured and resolute in who God, if I can use this in a wrong, linguistic term, who God be, right? Who God is, right? That is important. That is important as we talk about mentoring the next generation. In my studies, I was looking for, connecting a manhood and mentorship and the importance thereof. And I ran across a particularly interesting statistic with regards to black male mentorship and education. And the statistic says 50% of African-American males, watch this, y'all, cannot read by the third grade. Wait a minute. Hear me. Come lean in, Culture Code. Lean in. Turn up the radio. Turn it up in your ears. It says 50% of African-American males, boys, little boys, cannot read by the third grade. Now, first of all, how you navigate the world without being able to read is amazing. But the fact that they have chronicled the guesstimation to be 50% of African Americans. So my thing is, what's going on in our school systems, right? And one of the things they said is that black males who can read, right? Black males who know how to read need to go into the classrooms in the kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade and see black males reading, right? Before they develop a mentality that reading is not cool. Reading is not something that I need to do, right? That we spend so much time putting them in Little League Baseball and Little League Football, AAU, and all those. And we give God praise for all of those coaching and mentorship athletic organizations. I'm great. I'm good. However, you know, when we talk about education and them developing mentalities of learning, 50% of our young boys are being left behind. Now, they can shoot a ball, they can hit the ball, they can run the ball, but can they read? And then when you look deeper further into it, a lot of times when it comes to black quarterbacks and all of that, watch this, a lot of them don't get that position because they've got to read and be strategic and understand the playbook, right? So in athleticism, they may be better than someone else, but because they have poor reading and comprehension skills, they cannot take the place of leadership. And so we're upset and about, you know, XYZ should have been the quarterback, you know, but they didn't let him in there because he's black. Well, that might be partly true because as a black person, the question is, can he read, can he comprehend the playbook, right? Does he know how to be a scholar? Does he know how to facilitate that? Yeah, he can throw the ball, but it makes no difference if he can throw the ball and can't read the play that will make, you know, that the touchdown, because you get a touchdown via plays, and the plays come from what? The playbook. And if he can't read the playbook, then he can't be the leader of the team vis-a-vis the quarterback, right? And so, again, that begins at third grade. So I need you to think, Culture Call, for those of you who have a young boy, is he in the third grade yet? And have you tested the reading skills, right? It is a good thing that schools have put this whole reading thing. I know when my children were reading, they had to read as this many books, and they would get points, AR points, and all those different kinds of things because they understood that the key to the future was reading, right? And so, but fortunately, my children were in the 50% that can read. But I'm concerned about the 50% that cannot read. What happens to them? What goes on in their lives as they get older? Are we just passing them? Because again, unfortunately, education is not teaching for comprehension and for life, you know, for life skills as it was when I was growing up. They're teaching because education is directed by a standardized test. So they're teaching for testing, right? They're teaching for a standardized test, not teaching as a life skill to learn that reading is something that you're going to need in life. Math is something that you're going to need in life. Language arts is something that you're going to need in life. No, they're now teaching that math, reading, and English is something that you need to pass this test to get to graduate, to get out, right? And so there is a tremendous disconnection, especially in our community, with regards to that, right? But one of the things that they said to remedy that is that if there were black male reading mentors that will partner, that would go into the schools, right? I know my fraternity, Kappa Alpha Psi, we go into the schools and read in that same age, first, second, third, fourth grade. And I know other fraternities do that as well. Other mentorships, 100 black men, they go into the schools and read and mentor boys and all of these things to check their comprehension skills, check their life skills. Because again, number one, there is has been a tremendous decline in black male teachers in the education system, right? Because we understand that, you know, you go get the money, and they told us that ain't no teaching and money. And I get it. I understand what they're saying. I've been a teacher. I understand it, right? And so that's why black male teachers, they don't just teach. They don't just teach now. What they do is they have to coach, or they have to be a band director to get a supplement, or a stipend is what they call it, right? To be able to make ends meet with their families. And so slowly but surely, black males have been phased out of the educational process, right? But our children, especially black boys, need black male leadership, mentorship in the educational process in the classroom. That's important. Girls have that. Girls have that. They seek to put our young black boys because they are restless, they are, rambunctious, and that's not because they got ADD and ADHD. That's not because of that. It's just something in the boys' genes that they have this energy. That's black and white, right? But they have this. But the white boys are placed in, are given these special treatments a lot of times, and the black boys are offered Ritalin or offered some drug, psychotic drug, to control their behavior, because if we sedate the behavior, then maybe he can learn and he won't disrupt the class. So we're trying to stop the energy of the black boy from disrupting classes, right? Right? And so we penalize him for his creative energy. But if there were black male teachers who understood being a black boy, that black boy, the statistics show that when they have that kind of mentorship there, when they have that kind of mentorship there, those boys calm all the way down. That energy level comes under a self-discipline and a self-control, right? That's why they can act one way in the classroom and be just as pristine on the football field, pristine in the basketball court, and on the baseball fields, on the track. They can bring all that energy and channel it, right? And so what they say is that when there is black male mentorship, teachers and all of those that are in the classroom are participating in the schools, just monitors, parental monitors, that all of that energy begins to be siphoned into a strategic and life-giving direction, right? And that is the power of mentorship for young boys, especially African-American males, to reverse the trend that we see going on in our communities. It is not a good thing. I don't think it's a God thing that our young black boys, 50% of them, can't read in the third grade, that they're still mumbling. And that's why, one of the things my father told us when we had our children, it's like, don't goo gaga. Talk to them in plain English like you want them to talk to you. Right? If the children are going to learn, then you can't say boo, 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 because you're replicating their babbling. They need to be replicating your adult language so that they can learn as quickly as they can how to communicate in this world. And that is so genius. That is so genius. And it just makes sense to me now. It makes sense. And so when my children were crying, I would say, what you want? Not, would you baby, daddy, baby? No, I didn't do any of that. I was like, tell daddy what you want. And slowly but surely, they begin to develop the language to communicate, to tell us what their desires were. But that happened intentionally. And that's what goes on when we mentor our children. We give them the communication of life. My goodness. Listen, I got to take a break, Culture Call, but I will be right back. This is yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Keep it locked right here. There is so much more to come.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back. It's the top of the hour right here on the Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. Praise 93.3 FM 790 WTSK. And we want to welcome you, to the second hour. Yeah, all of our second hour listeners, we want to welcome you. We've been having a beautiful day today. Want to remind y'all, this is June and it is hot. Do you hear me? So make sure that you stay hydrated as much as you can. Stay in the cool weather. Stay in the cool air, rather, not weather, but stay in the air condition, make sure that you're doing all that you need to do to stay hydrated. Y'all, I cannot stress that enough. It's so very important that we use wisdom. And this has been the hottest June, I think, that we've had here in Tuscaloosa in a minuet, right? It has been exceeding hot. It's exceeding hot. So even at the top of the hour, 11 a.m. and some change, I'm telling you right now that, we've got to make sure that we do all that we need to do so that we can keep our bodies hydrated and take some water or some Powerade or some Gatorade or what's my new one? I can't remember what I drink now, but it's really, really good. I mean, it's really good. It's made with coconut water and Body Armor. That's what it is. Body Armor. They have them in the all different kinds of flavors. Get some of that, y'all, and stay hydrated. Yeah, get you a popsicle, and limit the amount of work. I know that you will rugged and all that. I don't know if the sun getting closer or whatever, but definitely the effects of some kind of global warming or something, because this is going to be a hot, hot summer. And yeah, I don't know when we're expecting rain. I think they said rain might come sometime this week, maybe, Thursday or something. I don't know. However, I know today we need to stay cool, right? Please do that. Please do that. Ma'am, sir, boys, girls, please make sure. I know we used to say, go outside and play and don't go back and forth from my house. Listen, monitor that. Monitor your kids. Like I said, this is a different kind of sun, I guess, than when we were children. I don't know. It's just hot. It is just hot, and so let's do all that we can. Listen. And so I've got one public service announcement this weekend at the Impact Nation Fellowship Church. Get ready for Intact Praise Weekend, Intact Youth Praise Weekend. Our youth department at the Impact Nation is hosting our youth Praise Power Weekend and Honors Weekend. It's going to be an amazing. The theme is Never Defeated, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful that they are never defeated, right? This is our year at the Church of No Defeat. And so we've been proclaiming that from January all the way to June now, that this is the year of no defeat, right? And we thank God that causes us to triumph in every place. And so we believe exactly what it says. But they're experiencing that this weekend on Friday. There's going to be praise power, a lot of singing, dancing. One of my sons in the ministry, he's going to be sharing the word. Samuel Crawford is going to be giving the word. And then Saturday, they're going to be at Super Skate. I believe it's a 2000s theme. So you dress like you in the early 2000s, right? I don't even remember what that looks like, what I was wearing, but yeah. And then on Sunday is our Honor Sunday that we're going to recognize all of our children, our youth, our young adults. Yes, and every person that has graduated, gotten honors, and have gotten the cards. That's the thing in our church. Get the cards. At the beginning of every year, I challenge every child, every person to go out. If you're in education, get the cards. And of course, that when you get the cards, it could be a gold card, red card, have different, organizations, different, subjects have various colored cords. Our challenge is to get the cords, right? And that shows that we have done the best and we have been, working and achieving honor throughout the year. But Sunday, yes. And one of my very own, one of our ministry sons, Justin Morton, is going to be sharing the inspirational word there. It's going to be a wonderful time. Got an honors reception. Listen, if y'all not doing anything, stop by the Impact Nation Fellowship Church right there on 1110 26th Avenue East in Alberta City, Tuscaloosa, Alabama. You don't want to miss that. We are on our summer schedule, so it's 10 a.m., and we try to get out at 12 p.m. because guess what? It is hot, and I try to get the saints out of church according to the leading of the Holy Spirit. And we do what we got to do, and we get in there, but we're going to be honoring our young people all weekend long. So I invite you to be a part. Bring your young people, and let's celebrate all of the wonderful things that they have accomplished this year, right? Absolutely. And again, if you have any kind of announcements, any announcement that you want me to share on the air, go ahead and send them to me. Yes, at culturecall.praise@gmail.com. culturecall.praise@gmail.com. One for the Father, one for the Son. This one is for the Holy Ghost. culturecall.praise@gmail.com. And I will be glad to share it on the air. Good? Great. Listen, so we've been talking about, again, men and mentorship, and I gave us statistics about the last hour. About 50% of African-American males cannot read by third grade, but one of the remedies that they have given is having them see men read to them at those early ages. So, that they will begin to replicate that. They will begin to follow after. Hey, it's cool to read because I saw my uncle read. I saw my dad read, or this influential man in the community came to our classroom and read a book. And when you can read, you can navigate. One of the things that they did not want the slaves to do was to be able to read, right? And then when they found out that we were able to read, then they started changing the information, right? They started changing the history, changing all of the stuff, when we could read, because now reading is comprehension, right? When I was growing up, there was this thing called RIF, R-I-F, and it was reading is fundamental. And it is foundational to life, right? And so I need to be able to see the stop sign. It has to be S-T-O-P. I need to be able to read stop. I need to be able to read go. I need to be able to comprehend the entire world around me, right? And so a lot of 50% of African-American males statistically say that they cannot read by the third grade. Right. And so when they get to middle school and high school, they have to be in special classes that help them with reading. And watch this, not just reading, but what do they call it, y'all? Reading comprehension, right? Reading comprehension. Because again, if you can read, you can begin to interpret your world. You can begin to see what it means, what the things in the world means and in your community. So reading, yes, is fundamental. And maybe we need to bring back RIF. I think we need to bring that back, right? We need to have reading programs in churches, and we need to have reading programs at with fraternities and sororities and different organizations. And we need to bring it back, not to pass the standardized testing, but guess what? As a fundamental life skill, foundational life skill is how we need to begin to teach reading. But bigger than that, I love what they say that the part of the remedy is for mentorship to be in the classroom, right? And when men come in and mentor young boys and girls in how to read, it does something to the psychology of that young boy. It does something to the psychology of that young child that may not have that in their homes, right? Right? Or better yet, even if they have that in their homes, it connects them to a greater aspect of community. And so we need to understand that, right? And so as they get older, the need for mentorship, as young men get older, from child to teenagers, mentorship becomes that much more important, right? Because the bridge to life is a mentor that teaches what? Life skills, right? Because you and I know, Coach Call, that it takes some skill to live this life. You feel me? I know you do. It takes some skill, y'all. You just can't wake up and just say, oh, I'm going to do life. No, there's got to be people who are responsible. That's why parents are important. But more than that, expensively, mentorship and coaching and sponsorship is important as well, right? And as they navigate through their teenage years, those awkward years of puberty, right? They need male mentorship. They need mentorship in that area, coaching, and let them know, the nuances of their body, their voice is changing, the acceptance of responsibility, right? Here's what Paul says in 1 Corinthians 13. He says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child. I thought as a child. I understood, I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things, right? And I like to couple it, right, with mentorship, because there had to be people that helped Paul manifest into manhood to become a man. You feel me? There had to be people that would help him. And especially in the Jewish culture that he grew up in, mentorship was a part of that whole lifestyle, right? And I'm glad and grateful that when I was coming up as a child, mentorship was a part of my life, my life, right? Helping me to become a man, right? When my voice started changing and, hormones and bumps started coming and feelings started, emotions and all that, to not make it quirky, to let the young boys know that this is a part of life. No, you're not a nerd. You're not this and you're not that. Because quickly, the psychology of an undeveloped mind will make them feel like I'm an outlier. And this is unnatural. And then they'll start trying to self-discover and to become curious about certain aspects of life, right? A lot of our young men got caught up into things out of the natural curiosity of becoming. And because they did not have a mentor, a coach, or a sponsor, someone to walk them through or navigate them through those curious and rough areas, someone that they could trust and lean on and depend on and lean into, because they didn't have that, guess what? They begin to explore in certain things, right? But there is never a time when we can cut off that mentorship. It should start when, again, as I said before, when they're in the first kindergarten, first grade, second grade, third grade, and then they begin to matriculate into the middle school, junior high ages. They definitely need mentorship. They're discovering sexuality. They're discovering agency. They're discovering, what they want to be and what they want to do. They're discovering the first heartbreak. They're discovering relationships on a different kind of level. They're noticing changes in their physiology. They're noticing changes in the female body as well, right? Right? And again, discovery. And that's nothing anathema. That's not a curse. That's not sin. It's not. It is natural human development. And that needs that development physically, mentally, and spiritually, right? Do you understand that in the Hebrew Jewish culture that, a boy becomes a man at 13, bar mitzvah, and a girl becomes a woman at 12, bat mitzvah, right? And so we do need rituals and rites of passages for our young black males. We need that in our young black females. It's important. It's important because to navigate those years, and that's the years, watch this, when a lot of them in our community start discovering sex and sexual behavior and getting pregnant and doing all kinds of other things, discovering their bodies because, we so busy with the thou shalt nots. We don't say, hey, wait a minute, before I teach you what not to do, let me tell you what's going on. Let me walk you through. And they want to have conversations with us. And every time, they're having a conversation, you clutching your pearl, or you speaking in tongues, or you waving blessed oil and spraying blessed water on them. No, you need to see that as a natural development of humanity, right? That's so very important. And so they learn to trust us in those middle school and junior high years so that when they get to the high school, because we like, well, I'm paying the bills. You're still a child. Okay, I get that. You're still in my house. You're still a child. I get that. But biologically, mentally, all of that, no. Again, I tell you, in other cultures, it's even in African cultures, right? We call them adults at 18. No, other cultures call them adults at 12 and 13. The moment that she has her cycle and the moment that he begins to experience, sometimes nocturnal emissions and all those kinds of things, they become, the moment that they can make a baby is when they are adults, technically, physiologically. We begin to mentor and partner with them to develop the mind to the growth of their bodies. Culture call. Do you feel me? Right? And that's something that we've got to lean into, especially in churches, because we start demonizing normal activity, normal human sexual activity as anathema, as something that we start bringing hellfire and brimstone to scare them out of what we in ignorance don't know how to have a discussion about. We rob mentoring from them. Mentoring is not don't do this, don't do that. Serve the Lord. Don't do this. Stay in church. That's not mentoring. No, mentoring is you walking alongside with your experience, with your insight, with your wisdom, with your successes, and watch this, with your failures, with your strengths and what? Your weaknesses, and help them navigate the maturing growth in their life. That, my friends, is true mentorship. And we cannot rob that. And they need that so that when they get to high school and they get ready to go to college, right, that there's a particular level of understanding and maturity. We allow our children to leave our homes too immature. Taking out the trash does not mean maturity, right? Making up your bed is not maturity, right? It is being able to handle life challenges, life's questions. It is being able to maximize time and setting life in order, right? It is being able to walk in faith and all of those different kinds of things. It's important for you to do that, for them to understand what that is, right? That's very, very, very important. Very important. And I get it. We don't know how to do that. We don't know, we do not know how to do that. And we rob our children from the proper mentorship. We rob our children from the proper sponsorship, right? And so, yes, we need to develop courses and things and making sure that, we have rites of passages. Yeah, not only do we teach young boys how to tie their tie, but we teach them the value of their bodies, the value of their genitalia and their anatomy, the value of their ability to now produce a child. We need to tell young boys, yes, you need to possess your vessel. We don't just need to teach it to girls to be virgins. We also need to teach the boys how to be chaste as well, right? Because the young girls are not getting pregnant because, by themselves. No, right? We need to move the hypersexualization and mentor them into maturity and say, son, here is what's going on in your body. Here's what you need. Keep your seed, because every woman, son, is not, every young girl you see is not who you want to incubate your seed and give you access to the future. Huh? Y'all not saying anything, right? I teach that at church. We don't just tell the young girls to be virgins. We tell the young boys to do that. Keep yourself. Well, and it's not cool. I say a lot of guys that's in the locker room at school, they lying. They're lying for cool points. Huh? They're lying for cool points, right? And so you need to begin to tell them, But we have to have mentors to let them know that it's cool. It's okay. It's okay to possess your body. It's okay to possess your manhood. X, Y, Z, A, B, C. You gotta learn how to have the conversations. You feel what I'm saying? Yes. Culture Code, we got to do that. Right? And not only in high school, but even now, mentorship takes on a different dimension in college, right? Because now we've got to connect them with mentors for careers, mentors for how to choose a major, how to choose a university, or should you even go to college, or should you go and manifest a trade, right? Because college is not for everyone. It's not. Right? The rigor and all of those different kinds of things are not for everyone. Some people need to be electricians, need to be plumbers, need to go to trade school, need to be barbers. Yes. And they make a heap and a load of money. Do you hear me? Plumbers and electricians and HVAC people. I know those folks are making a killing during these hot months. Absolutely. I was out talking to my lawn care guy, and he was telling me I was having him to check our sprinklers, and he said, well, I don't do sprinklers anymore, but I do have a company, but these guys do sprinklers, and they stay booked up all this time of year. It's like they make their living for the entire year during the summer months, May, actually in April, May, June, July, August, and the top of September, installing sprinklers. I mean, that's not something you got to go get a 4-year degree to do, right? You can go to trade school and get that and start making money. But if our young men don't understand the opportunities, see, that develops entrepreneurship. That develops, a self-awareness of, maybe I'm not the summa cum laude graduate from Howard or Morehouse, right? But I graduated from Shelton State. Now I have my own business. Now I own my own fleet. Now I got a schedule. I'm overbooked. Right, see? But they've got to have mentors to let them know that that is A-okay. And if they do not, then they're going to go around and, if they don't have mentors in that area, they're going to go to college, or just simply trying to play football because I'm trying to escape my reality. And there, again, please hear me. There is nothing wrong with athleticism, but, there is more than just running a ball. There is more than just running on the track or hitting a ball, right? And especially when you do the statistics, they can play all their lives, even up to college, and still never make it to the big bucks, and that's so important. That's very, very important. And so I need you to begin to think about how we mentor them, right? And then when they become older men, they need to have mentors for networking. That in our community, we need a mentorship network of business. And so that when these young boys and girls, these young men and women graduate from college and can't find a job, our community can take care of that because we have mentorship resources. We already know and have interviewed and have walked with them through the entire process. The entire process of all of these different kinds of things. Absolutely. We need to have that. And they can have a job as soon as they walk across that stage because we're a part of that mentorship process is networking. It is connecting them with opportunities. Because I'm not going to mentor you through all of your life, drop you at college, and then now you're struggling when you get out. No, I'm going to connect you with the next level of your life and your next level of living. That's what mentorship is, and I'm going to walk you through it. Mentorships in relationships and get ready for marriage, right? All of those things are important. What I'm trying to drill in us, Culture Call, is that we will never get away from the value of having prime mentorship in our community. Yes, you know what we have to do? And we're going to talk about that after the break. But guess what? We've got to make the time. We've got to make the time to mentor. Yes, we've got to make the time to do that, right? That when they get older, we don't just say, "Oh, but I'm done. They're grown now." No, grown folks need mentoring too. Absolutely. Even at my age, I still have mentors and coaches around me, right? See, because to live life without a mentor says I know how to do everything and I know X, Y, Z. Don't play yourself like that, Culture Call. Don't be so arrogant and prideful to think that you don't need mentorship and coaching and sponsorship. Because those people who are ahead of you and have tenure in you in life and in opportunity and success can connect you to the next place of your being and your living. And your life could be exposed to a whole nother level, right? And so mentorship is something that we literally take to the cradle to the grave. Absolutely. And so that cannot be remissed upon us that I don't need a mentor. I don't need that. No, you do, ma'am, sir, especially. You do need mentorship. Absolutely. Listen, this is yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, right here on your favorite talk show, The Culture Call. Praise 93.3, 790 WTSK. Keep it right here. There is so much more to come. Don't miss it.
This is a world premiere.
And we are back right here on The Culture Call with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, having an amazing day. Yeah, it's a little warm, and it's getting warmer. Absolutely. But we're talking about men and mentorship, and we're developing and talking and discussing mentorship from, the cradle to, as we get older in life. That there will never not be a need for us that does not require mentorship. I think that is so very important for us to recognize that if we're going to live this life to the maximum, if we're going to be able to do all that we do, it is important for mentors to step in, and we must humble ourselves to mentorship. Let me say that again, that we must humble ourselves to mentorship, right? It's very important. And I don't know how else to say that, right? I would not want to even see my life, would not even want to know my life if I did not have the mentorship that I been fortunate enough to have, in my life. It has caused me to avoid so many mistakes. And I can point out in the areas, Culture Call, where I didn't have proper mentorship. I can point out the areas where I made unnecessary mistakes. And if I had someone around me to say, hey, here's what happened. Don't do that, X, Y, Z, or here's what you need to do. And I'm talking about every aspect of my life, from relationships to career to ministry, you name it. I needed a mentor, and it is it's definitely something that we've got to have a conversation about in our community, because I think the reason why mentorship a lot of times is not discussed and perhaps even rejected is because there is a certain pride and arrogance that prevails in our community, that everybody wants to be self-made and self-taught, or we get to the place at the age and the stage where we think we don't need that anymore. And that is conclusively untrue, right? We're working on our own personal narratives, and sometimes that can lead us astray. And we don't value the power of mentorship and sponsorship in our lives, right? That when we do away with that, life has some questions, y'all. Culture Call. Life has some questions that you haven't even thought of yet. That lifing can throw you some curveballs and some screwballs and some situations and issues that people have already matriculated and lived through, and can help us. But when we function in arrogance or conceit, pride comes before destruction, heart of spirit before a fall, that we are making unnecessary mistakes because we're not covered properly by mentorship, right? And so one of the aspects of mentorship that's much more needed, or that's much needed, not much more, but much needed, and that is foundational, is that mentorship provides a crucial role in guidance and support. There is a psychologist back in the day, Maslow, talking about the hierarchy of needs in a child. And it's called, the lowest part is the growth needs, the essentials that child needs to be able to grow in this world and to be productive in society. And part of those needs are, you have to feed that child, you have to clothe that child, needs a place to stay, but that child also needs guidance and support. And unfortunately, guidance and support is what a lot of our Black homes lack. Wait a minute. Yeah, guidance and support. Yes, they have parents. Yeah, there can be a mom and a dad in the house, but that doesn't translate into guidance and support, right? That means that I'm going to get down on the floor with you while you're playing the blocks, while you're with the blocks, and while you're still discovering the world and what it can do. And I'm going to get down there with you, and I'm going to help you put the blocks together. I'm going to help you put the Legos together. I'm going to help you know that when the brick blocks fall, that it's okay. We can start over again. That is essential. That's essential, because you're teaching a lesson, a life lesson, right there on your knees. Yeah, right there on your knees. And they're saying that when the blocks fall or when it doesn't come to pass, you say, let's start again. Come on, let's start over again. Because that's what life is all about. It is being able to understand how to end a thing. It is being able to understand how to begin again. It is that ability. And we don't learn that. We don't learn that when we get older. That's something that that guidance and support is needed. Let me say it again. It is needed when we are what? Children. See, it starts from the very beginning. It's taking the time to understand what it means to be a human, to be compassionate, right? To let that baby know that, hey, some things don't work, but you still have another opportunity to do what? Try again. That failing or something falling down doesn't mean human disapproval. Doesn't mean that you're not valuable. Doesn't mean that you don't have, that's still the genius and the intelligence. No, I'm on the ground with you and I'm telling you, oh, sometimes that happens, baby. No, you don't have to cry. You don't have to cry. We can start over again. And even if you do cry, go ahead and cry. But after you finish, guess what? We're going to start all over again. That's what mentorship looks like. That's where parents come in, right? But that's guidance and support. That's letting them know that I have a world that is safe to learn, right? I have a world. And that begins when they are babies. And that is a growth need, right? And then when they get into school or whatever and they have a difficult time, they'll come to you, right? They won't hide their grades. They won't change their grades to make an F an A, right? Or an F a B, right? That they will say that, yeah, this not knowing is a part of life. Now I need to go to mama and daddy. I need to go to those who started off mentoring me and sponsoring me. I need to go to my coach so that they can help me figure out what I did wrong. Yes. And so, yes, the fundamental level of mentorship begins, yes, at parenthood. When we get down on their level, not shut that noise up, hush that noise up, stop crying, man up. No, that baby is 6 months old, 7 months old. They're in the age of discovery until they get to, at least 5 years old. They're still discovering life. They're still discovering, and what you know to be dangerous, to them it's not, because children are not born with fears. We teach them how to fear certain things because you know why? We've lived in this life long enough to know what to fear. So yes, we plug up electric plugs. You know why? Because it's on their level. They'll put their hands, they'll put their tongues, they'll stick certain things in it, right? So we protect them. That's mentorship. Yeah, that's what that is. We say, oh no, don't touch that. This is dangerous. Don't do that. Not yet. It's not time for that yet. And then you give them an instructive toy to work with. Or you pick them up and you go play with them. Yeah. And you go work on something that is meaningful at their level. Because babies and electricity don't go together. So you know that. But they don't. That's not the time to spank them. That's not the time to take out your belt, no, or get your switch. That's the time to teach them and nurture them. Say, no, right? That's the time to teach a life lesson. Children are much smarter. So we have to think about mentoring their mind, mentoring and parenting and coaching and sponsoring their mentalities, that they learn how to navigate this world. It's a growth need. It's a growth need. They're going to fall down sometimes because you know why? Because their cognitive skills and their motor skills have to catch up with each other. They have to begin to coordinate. As an adult, you already know that. But as a child, they don't. They don't. And so you have to take the time. Yeah. And then as they get older, those things turn into another level of support. They need that role modeling and skill development, right? In that mid years, right? They need to know about relationships. They need to know when you first broke up with your first puppy love. They need to know and tell them that's natural. This is natural. This getting this way, this doing this thing is natural. Yeah, you monitor their attractions and you do all of that and you lead them with love and compassion, not just restriction. No, but yes, I'm telling you this because I want to protect you. I want to make sure X, Y, Z, and you're open. You create mentorship in a loving environment, parenthood in a loving environment, coaching in a loving, caring environment. That's the fullness of mentorship. That's the fullness. And I'm telling you, hear me, young black boys need that. You know, and really, black boys do, but all boys, they need that. They need that. Because the world will allow them to do things and all these different, and they grow up and then they meet order. And order is offensive to them because they've never met it in mentorship. You've never taught them how things work, right? And then the older they get, you start moving to networking and connections. You start introducing them to certain influential people and people that can broaden the context of the village in which you're rearing them, that can give them information and insight so that when in your absence, they still have a group of people. They have resources that they can tap into, that their lives are never without resource. And I believe that that is what mentorship is supposed to do, is to make sure the lives of our children, the lives of our young people, the lives of people are never without a level of resource. And I think that is a cause for a lot of desperation that's even happening in our culture and community today, is that a lot of our young boys are feeling that they're living life without resource, without network, without connection, without a source of validation and affirmation, a source of that who protects my being, right? That we have to provide that for them. And that's what mentorship is supposed to do. Culture call, lean into it. That is why it is so important to get mentorship. If you are a single mother, get a mentor for your boy. Get a mentor. Yes, a male mentor. It's important. And you will be glad you did. If you're part of a church, a part of a school organization, band director, coach, talk to them and say, hey, I'm right now I'm doing this by myself. Talk to the boy's father. If they're not incarcerated, you know, or if they're not in a place where they can't talk, you know, but partner and say, hey, that I need you to help me. Your presence is necessary. We'll work out paycheck. We'll work out the check later. But your presence is payment in this child's life. And that's what we need. Because I really believe that when mentorship, coaching, and sponsorship gets back in our community, we're going to see a change in our young people, an excellent change like we have never, ever seen it before. Listen, I see the runway. We're about to land this plane, but I need you to keep it right here on the Culture Code with yours truly, L. Spencer Smith, Praise 93.3. Yes, we'll be right back.
This is a world premiere.
Listen, it has been an amazing day right here on the Culture Call, but guess what? All good things, unfortunately, come to an end. That's right. And this is the time of the end of this particular broadcast. And I'm telling you, I want to challenge each and every one of you to embrace men and mentorship from little boys all the way up to adulthood. I think it's very, very important that we establish that. Support the organizations that do have mentorship. Yeah, you become a mentor. Lean into it. Somebody needs your experience, okay? Good deal. Whether you're part of a fraternity, sorority, or an other organization, mentorship needs to be foundational in our community. Listen, I want to make sure that I challenge you, Culture Call, with all of that. You know, as my grandmama and my mama would say at the end of every phone call, I love you a bushel, I love you a peck, and I love you a hug around the neck. Yes, this has been the Culture Call, your number one talk show right here on Praise 93.3 and 790 WTSK. Yes, yours truly, L. Spencer Smith. I'm signing off, but guess what? Know that I love you. I'm praying for you. Go out into the world and do good. Make sure that you be a productive part of our community, right? And listen, stay tuned. Tomorrow is going to be another wonderful day. Be right back here at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. We're going to have something great to talk about. Listen, be at peace. Have a great one.